Now, onto something different, but quite exciting, and I think something that most of us are perhaps not too au fait with. So the South African National Space Agency has clarified the possibility of South African female astronauts being trained and sent to International Space Station. Now, a Russian embassy to South Africa recently announced that South Africa is planning to send 2 women to the International Space Station within 2 years. The embassy said that South Africa would train the 2 female astronauts for this space mission. Now, the embassy was sharing the information at the time about the launch of a facility in South Africa that will be used to detect space debris. And to elaborate on this matter, we are joined virtually now by the South African National Space Agency CEO, Mr. Humbulani Mudau. Mr. Mudau, thanks for your time. Welcome to Morning Live.
Thank you very much, and good morning to you and your viewers.
Before we get to the news part of it, let's just talk about the South African Space Agency. I know, I would imagine there are people who are not even aware of the fact that we have a space agency. So please tell us more about it and, of course, what it is that you are busy with at the moment.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. Indeed, many South Africans do not know about the South African National Space Agency. We are 12 years old. We have been working on a number of initiatives. You will know that South Africa, through the Department of Science and Innovation, had launched a number of satellites. And the space agency has been created, of course, in 2010 to ensure that we support the vision that the country, as well as the Department of Science and Innovation, had in building technological advancement and ensuring that space science and technology contribute to this country. Our mission and vision is very simple, is to ensure that we build applications, products, and services that are relevant in addressing some of the societal challenges that we're facing in this country. So there are a number of projects that we've embarked on where we are building decision support tools that will ensure that we respond to the food security, we respond to the extreme events that we're seeing by building predictive models, as well as early warning system that will ensure that we save, we protect our assets, as well as predicting what will happen in terms of climate change and so on. So it's been exciting. We are focused on also stimulating and growing the domestic space industry in a number of areas, looking at the upstream where we're building satellite systems as well as subsystems and components. On the downstream side, as I said, we're beginning to look at provision of space weather research and space weather information. South Africans may not know that South Africa hosts one of the regional space weather centers in Hermanus, which is providing quite critical, important information in space weather, particularly for the aviation industry, and as well as ensuring that we protect our space assets, given how the space environment can be violent at times, and the solar flares that can damage some of our navigation system as well as our communication systems. So the space agency, since it has been established, really has contributed quite significantly also in building human capital. We're very excited that we are now working with some of our space partners. You may have heard that in the collaboration that we have with NASA, we are embarking on supporting unmanned and manned space missions. We are building a new facility at Markiesfontein in the Western Cape, which is going to support NASA's Artemis program, which will take the first woman of color to the moon. And this is really exciting for us. And there are quite a number of other initiatives that we're looking at in terms of ensuring our financial stability through the Triple P partnerships. And our focus really is to inspire a young South African to of course, take science, technology, and innovation as the area that are subjects that will ensure that we contribute in growing our economy, but also in ensuring that we create more opportunities for young people and women in this country. So we're very excited. We have been really punching above our weight. We work with the most advanced space agencies globally. And as you may have heard, the last 2 days, we were hosting our BRICS partners in Hermanas, where we've got a Space Weather Center, which is 24/7 operational, which that space center, of course, it's headed by a young woman from Limpopo. So we're doing very well as well in ensuring that there's transformation and empowerment of youth and women in this country. Thank you.
So with regard to that announcement by the Russian embassy, so you are confirming that indeed we will be sending 2 female astronauts to space. Is that correct?
We have the aspirations. We're talking to our space partners. And that announcement will happen soon. It takes a few years to train what hopefully in South Africa we will call an astronaut. In Russia, they call them cosmonaut. In the US, they call them astronauts. And the Chinese call them taikonauts. So we're hoping that as we implement, our national space program, that part of our ambitions is to ensure that we inspire young South Africans, not just in South Africa, but across the African continent. And we are at a very advanced stage of our negotiations with our partners, who we will be looking at a training program. And of course, for us as the space agency, we would really, really like to see those that are trained, because this is a very competitive and where we do the selection process. And we will look at a number of candidates, because one of the reasons why one will go to either the space station that it's currently running, which will be decommissioned soon, or whether one goes to the space station that has been built by the Chinese, and as well as the ambitions that the Russians have in building the space station's model, is that you have to have a certain research focus or an experimental payload that you're going to take to space to ensure that you bring back this data, which will contribute in the advancement of our space program. So this is a highly selective, competitive process that we will embark on. And then once we've done that, we will have candidates that will go into training. And it's a training that takes almost just more than 2 years or so, depending on as well as on the experiment that you want to conduct when you go to the space station. So for us, it's really exciting. That announcement, where we will sign an agreement with our space partners, will be made very soon, and we're really excited. And once we've done that, we will embark on the process in which we then select candidates that goes for training.
Mr. Mudau, we literally have a minute, but I just want to hear, you spoke about your ambitions as the South African National Space Agency. So what are some of the impediments to those ambitions?
Honestly, we haven't really focused more on the impediments, but I mean, if you look at most of them, or the advanced space nations, and you look at the amount of money or the budget that get dedicated to the space program, to their space programs, and the budget that we have, which we're very grateful now for government, National Treasury, as well as the Department of Science and Innovation, in which we have seen an increase in our budget, which is really exciting. But for some of these and the ambitions that we have, we're hoping that we will use other funding instruments to be able to deliver on the programs that we're setting. But funding as well as building human capital for us as South Africa is critical, and that's where we're focusing on, as well as building the infrastructure that we need to support all these ambitions that we have. We are looking beyond just the deep space network. We have ambitions to access to space, where we are working with the University of KwaZulu-Natal in a rocket program. We are looking at building the spaceport down in Anniston, at Cape Agulhas. So all of those programs would require, of course, incredible funding. But we believe that we've seen with most of the space agencies across the world that the return on investment, as well as the contribution to the digital economy, has been hugely of significance. So we're hoping that through our space program, we will contribute to some of the government imperatives as well as to our economy.
Mr. Mudau, thanks so much for speaking to us and, sharing those ambitions and, of course, what you are currently busy with us and the rest of the nation. And we'll keep, an eye on what develops, and we'll wait for that announcement. That was Mr. Humbulani Mudau, South African National Space Agency CEO, clarifying that talk of the possibility of South African female astronauts, or as he told us there, astronauts being trained and sent to the International Space Station. We await that announcement.